Hello and welcome, my name is Krioss and today we are going to be talking about Holminster's Switch. This is the first dungeon you will encounter in the Shadowbringers main storyline quest. This is a 4-player instance requiring level 71 and a minimum item level of 370. If this is your first run through Holminster's Switch, it's likely you're around the item level 370. I would take it a little slower than what you would be used to in previous normal dungeons. This is considered current content as of 2021, and although this isn't considered difficult content, it can be jarring to new players when they first step into a Shadowbringers dungeon. Those of you interested in the new trust system understand you will get an instant queue whether you're a tank, healer, or DPS when applying for the dungeon, although the time to clear the dungeon is slower than a conventional man-made party. The first of 3 bosses we're going to encounter is Forgiven Dissonance. This boss has a healthy amount of abilities from tank busters to AoEs that will cover the entire playing field. You will need to be paying attention to your positioning at all times during this fight. The first ability on our list is the Path of Light. This is group-wide AoE damage that cannot be avoided. Healers, do your best to keep your party topped up as this ability will be used multiple times during this encounter. Next up, the boss is going to travel to the center of the room and cast Brazen Bull, summoning 4 gray orbs that cannot be targeted. Shortly after the orbs are summoned, 2 things are going to happen. 1, the boss is going to cast Gibbet Cage. Yes, that's the pronunciation. Belle googled it for me. This is a ground-based AoE centered on the boss. 2, the orbs are going to create a telegraph on the ground in either a diagonal or a cross-shaped pattern, covering roughly 80% of the arena. Move your butt to a safe zone and get ready to get screwed. Once you are safe, get ready for Thumbscrew. This ability is telegraphed by a blue surging line from the boss to the edge of the arena. After charging, the boss will turn and immediately cast Wooden Horse, a massive 90-degree cone covering the majority of the arena. This is the point of the encounter where the mechanics reset. Healer, prepare for more Path of Light casts, and the last unique ability this boss has to offer, Pillory, the Tank Spanker. Tanks, make sure you're cycling defensives for this ability. Lastly, when the boss's HP gets low, it will spawn a second wave of orbs immediately following the first. This will cause a frantic run to the opposite side of the arena for safety. Stay focused and pay attention to the order of the telegraphs and you'll be just fine. Next on our list is Tesleen the Forgiven. She has a nice change of pace coming from the previous boss with far fewer mechanics and safety dances. Tesleen starts out with a tickle fight, which is a bit odd. The tickler is the tank spanker that both the tank and healer should be utilizing cooldowns to mitigate throughout the fight. Skull's Bridle is another group-wide AoE that is unavoidable and ensures the healer is in fact awake. Fevered Flagellation is a long cast that marks each party member with an icon floating above their heads. These icons are represented by a number of floating orbs ranging 1 to 4. After Tesleen finishes her cast, she will charge in a straight line from one player to another in numerical order. Ensure you are not in her path as she charges another member of your party. Finally, Exercise spawns 4 large AoE circles on the ground as well as a stack marker above one of your party members' heads. After a few seconds, she will leap to the marked player, leaving a new 5th AoE pool on the ground. Tanks, make sure to position the boss outside of the newly formed pool as soon as she lands. Rinse and repeat these mechanics we just went over a few more times, and you've downed yourself boss number 2. Before we get to the final boss, a word of caution. The last courtyard you come to is a Gauntlet. The moment you kill your current group of enemies, the next group will pull. That being said, there is nothing really difficult about any of these trash groups, other than a few easy to avoid telegraphs. At last we have made it to Lightwarden Philia, the 3rd and final boss of Holminster's Switch. The safety dances are back and with a twist. The first ability this beauty is going to introduce to us is Scavenger's Daughter. This is yet another group-wide AoE with its fair share of unavoidable damage. Healers and tanks, do prepare yourself because this is followed up immediately with Head Crusher, a rather heavy-handed tank spanker. Utilize defensives and healing cooldowns the best you can. By this point you should be getting into the swing of things, so let's talk about Philia's Pendulum ability. When marked with the flare proximity marker, the tank should immediately back up to the wall. This allows the DPS and healer to huddle to the opposite side of the courtyard, maximizing distance and minimizing damage from both leaps. Following Pendulum, Philia will cast Chain Down on a random player, completely immobilizing them. Breaking the chain should be everyone's primary concern because anyone left inside the Aether Syrup will be deleted from the server. Also, melee DPS and tanks, do not be afraid to run in and save your teammate. With everyone focusing DPS on the chains, there is more than enough time to destroy it and get to safety. Moving on to left and right knock, the Lightwarden will swing its fist in the direction it's raised in, sweeping across half the arena at a time. Waiting to move via the orange telegraph on the ground with this ability is particularly risky. Most of the time if I'm stuck in the orange, I'm stuck in the swing. It's very important you are preemptively moving as soon as you see the boss's hands in the air. With Taphophobia, avoid stacking to prevent overlapping damage, and then line up with the party member indicated by the line stack marker and into the light. Both of these are very common mechanics that you are probably more than familiar with at this point in the game. Lastly, Philia is going to show us the absolute mullet of all mechanics. This bad boy is all business in the front and party in the back. Namely, Fierce Beating will have multiple ground AoEs going off in the front with a wide arcing tail swipe bringing up the rear, all while spinning in a circle for you. When Philia starts throwing a fit, we get nice and comfortable near that back left elbow, or driver rear if Philia was a minivan. Cycling through the previous mechanics once or twice more is going to net you a dead boss. And that's the end of it. Congratulations on your successful completion of Holminster's Switch, and thank you for watching.